So today we are going to talk about one of the most important topic with respect to C programming. That is nothing but iteration or looping, we can say. So before we start, let's try to understand why do we require this particular concept. Okay. So traditionally what will happen? Let's say this is one program and the objective of this program is to print one statement. Let's say hello on the screen. So let's verify whether it's working fine or not. So as you can see on the screen, I can see this particular message, which is nothing but hello. And now let's say I have one more statement, and the statement is like this: today is Tuesday, and now if I run this, then you will be able to see these two statements on the screen. But now, depending upon my requirement, I want to modify the flow of this particular program. So modify the flow in what is the meaning of this particular term? Modification of the flow. So traditionally, the execution will go from line number 3 to line number 4, then line number 5, and then line number 6, right? And line number 5 is empty, so I can write like this also. So traditionally, well, flow will go like this from line number 4 to line number 5, and so on. So now what I want to do in the case of if we know what is called selective execution. If I write down some condition like okay, so let me write it down here. For example, if I write like this, if some condition, let's say 1 less than 5, then and and in the within the block of this particular if statement, let me write down this particular condition, this particular statement. Then I know first the control will check this particular condition. This particular condition is true. Therefore, this particular statement will be executed. That is called selective execution, right? Now, what I want, instead of doing selective execution, I want to do repeatedly execution. So what I want to do, what is my objective? I want to print hello on my screen for, let's say, 10 number of times. Then how to do it? So that means what I want to do, if I don't use this concept of repetition, if I don't have this loop statements, right, then what I need to do, I need to write down printf 10 times, and that will be too much work, right? So what I want to do, I want to write down printf statement just once, but I want it to execute 10 times. That is my objective. Okay, I'm repeating one more time. What is my objective? This is selective execution, but I don't want selective execution. I want repeated execution. So in repeated execution, what will happen? Whatever is written within this particular block, those statements will be executed repeatedly. Let's say I want to repeat this statement, repeat the execution of this particular statement 10 times, right? So for that, this particular purpose, we have one particular keyword, which is nothing but while. So what I will do, instead of if, I will write down while. Okay, again it's keyword. The syntax is very much similar to if. That's why I had written if earlier. So as you can see, first this is keyword. Similar to if, I will also have one condition in this particular bracket, as you can see. And again, this condition will be of Boolean nature. Either it will be evaluated to true or false. If this particular condition is true, then this particular statement will be executed, right? And then now here is the difference. In the case of if, only once this particular condition will be executed, and then control will go to line number 8. Whereas in the case of while, what will happen? Once you reach to end of this particular curly braces, again control will go to line number 4. Again this condition will be checked, and again this particular statement will be executed. Okay, and this will repeat. This will be repeated infinite number of times if we write like this, right? Okay, so let's verify whether what will happen if we perform repetition like this. Why it will be why there will be a problem of infinite loop? Because this condition is always true, right? So every time what will happen, control will go from line number 7 to line number 4. It will check the condition is true, hello will be printed. Again it will go to line number 4, condition will be checked. Again printf will be so this hello statement will be printed. Again control will go back to line number 7 to 4, and so on, right? So it will continue like that only, right? As you can see, right, you can see infinite times hello on my output screen, right? But we don't want this. I want to print hello exactly 10 times. So that means this value must also change here. 1 and 5 both are constants. So we know that constants don't change their values. So if I write this expression like this, which only contains constants, then it will remain always true or always false, depending upon which condition I am writing. But I want it to be eventually false for some number of iterations. To be precise, in this particular case, I want this expression to be true exactly 10 times, and then I want it to become false. So if I want to do like that, then if I want this in my program, then what I need to do, instead of constants, I must use variables. And we want actually this condition to be changed. If this condition remains static, then there is no use of this particular while statement, right? So therefore, we must have one variable. Let's say here I am declaring this variable of type integer, and initially I am giving it value, let's say 1, right? And now instead of 1, I will write down I, okay? And instead of 5, I will write down 10, okay? Why 10? Because I want to print this particular statement 10 times. But now again, there is an issue. If I do like this, what will happen? Initially value of I is equal to 1, 1 less than 10, this condition is true, hello will be printed. Again, the same condition will be checked, 1 less than 10, again hello will be printed. So again, there is a problem of infinite loop here. So what I need to do, I need to modify the value of I also. Then only this particular condition can become false eventually. So what I can do, after I print down hello one time, I will increment the value of I by 1. So what can I write here? Let's say I is equal to I plus 1. Or I can also write down like this, I plus plus, both are equivalent. So now what will happen? First time, when value of I is 1, 1 less than 10, this condition is true, hello is printed. Now value of I is incremented by 1, so now I becomes 2. Again control will go back to line number 5, 2 less than 10, this condition is checked. Again hello is printed, value of I will become 3 now, 3 less than 10, again this condition is true, right? 4 less than 10, condition is true, 5 less than 10, right? It will continue like this. Let's say after what will happen after 10 iteration, value of I becomes okay, so initially it's 1, then it will become 2, then it will become again 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, then 9, up to 9 less than 10, this particular condition is true, right? And hello will be printed. Now value of I will become 10, 10 less than 10, this condition is false. So what will happen? You will come out of this particular loop, and line number 10, today is Tuesday, will be printed, right? But if I count, then I will be printing hello exactly 9 times, but I want it to be printed exactly 10 times. So I should write 11 here, okay? So now let's verify whether we get exactly 10 times hello, okay? So you can check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But currently our focus is on learning the syntax, right? You can write down this expression in infinite many ways. You can also write down that as square, it must be less than or equal to square root of 100. Then also it's correct, right? So your focus must not be on this, right? How to write down this condition. For now, just focus on the syntax. How while statement works, that is important as of now. So now if we summarize, then basically there are 3 components. The first component is nothing but we must take some variable and we must initialize it. If I take variable and if I don't assign value, and if I'm using that particular variable inside my condition, inside my expression which I put within this round brackets, then it's of no use, because my variable may contain some garbage value, and then condition will be useless, no matter how intelligently you write down the condition, right? Okay, so the very first thing which we must take care whenever we are using this particular structure is nothing but we must take care of initialization. This is nothing but initialization. Then we must take care of condition, right? Condition must be of Boolean nature and it must be eventually terminated, right? And if we want to actually terminate this particular condition, then we must change the value of the underlying variable. So we can do it with some arithmetic operation. It can be increment or it can be decrement. It cannot be static. If your variable remains static, then we will get a problem of infinite loop.
So these three things are important. Again, I am repeating. We must have some variable. We must initialize the variable. First thing. Second thing, we must write down some expression which involves this particular variable, right? And then third thing, we must modify the value of variable so that the condition eventually becomes false. So whenever condition becomes false, when value of I becomes 11, at that time, 11 less than 11, this particular condition is false and line number 10 will be executed, which is nothing but today is Tuesday. In fact, this variable is called counter. Why it is called counter?
Because it's we are keeping track of how many times this particular statement is executed, right? So initially one, so first time you can check whenever I'm printing down hello for the very first time, then I'm not modifying the value of I. So if value of I is 10, that means 10 times hello is printed. That's the meaning. So it's keeping track of the count, how many times the underlying statement is executed. Therefore, it's called counter variable. A specific word is given to it, and it's called counter variable. And with respect to counter variable, again, three things: it must be initialized, it must be present in the underlying condition, and we must modify its value, right? And if we compare this while with if, then we can notice some changes. The first change is this change, where in if we can we don't care about which variable we are using here, but here we need to make sure that whichever variable we are using here, that variable must be incremented or decremented within this particular block only. Then only this particular statement will terminate. This is the first difference. Second difference is in the case of if, what will happen if you this block will be executed exactly one time, at most one time, sorry, depending upon the condition. If condition is false, then this block won't be executed at all, right? And and at most it will be executed one time. Whereas in the case of while, this block, again line number 6 to 9, will be executed at most infinite times. It may be possible that if this condition is false, then this block won't be executed at all. That is there, right? If I write like this, let's say initial value of I is 100, then okay, let's verify what will happen if initial value of I is 100. What will happen with respect to while? You can see directly today is Tuesday. That means this block is not at all executed. So it's not like that if you write down like this, then then this underlying statement will be executed at least once for sure, right? It's not like that. It depends upon the condition. If your condition is false, then these statements won't at all executed, right? Like just like in this particular case, if I is equal to 100, 100 less than 11, condition is straight away false, then you won't go inside the body of this particular block, right? So therefore it is also called entry control loop, right? While is called entry control. Why? Because at the time of entry itself, you are verifying whether the underlying condition is true or false. If the underlying condition is false, then entry is denied. Therefore, it's called entry control loop also, because at the time of entry, right, in this within this round bracket, the condition is written and we can verify whether the condition is true or false. If the condition is false, then entry is denied and these statements won't be executed at all. Okay, so therefore we must take care of initialization also. That initialization must be some valid value, right? Then only this will work. And it depends upon some practical scenario also. Let's say this particular while statement is associated with, let's say, some device which manages temperature of the room, and if temperature is less than some degree, let's say less than, let's say, 5 degree, then it will produce continuous heat. And the instruction which produce continuous heat is, let's say, related to statement number 7. And then we will check this particular condition. If while temperature is less than some unit at that time, let's say while temperature is less than 5 degree, then we will continuously produce heat. And once this particular condition is false, when temperature becomes equal to 5 or more than 5, then we will stop. I hope the idea of while is clear. Initialization, condition, and increment and decrement, right? So now instead of hello, let's say I want to print numbers from 1 to 10. Then what I can do, I can just print down value of this particular variable, which is nothing but I.
So now this will be the program to print numbers from 1 to 10. Let's verify. You can see if I just print down
the value of my counter variable, then it will give me numbers from 1 to 10. Okay.
In the next video, we will talk about do while. Thank you. Subscribe to my channel for more videos.